Hello, I'm ABXToyCat and welcome back to another video. Today I'll be telling you 5 fun facts you might not have known about the slime block in Minecraft. The slime block is perhaps the coolest block that has ever come to Minecraft because it allows for so much creativity. Whether it's just the fact that you can bounce on it so you can make cool escapes from your buildings, or it's the fact that it can be used in redstone in a billion different ways to do so many cool things. Basically, this slime block is one of the coolest blocks in the game, and until you learn some of the cool things it can do, you might not appreciate just how useful it is, and that's what today's video is for. So hopefully you do like it. If you do, please do like it and let me know, because it helps out the channel a lot and lets me know you do like it and want to see more 5 things you didn't know videos. But let's get straight into it already, shall we? By starting with the first thing you might not have known. Very key place to start. And basically the first thing you might do when you first find out that slime blocks can bounce you is try and work out what else they'll bounce. And to be honest, it's not many things. Most most gravity affected blocks like gravel, like sand, like the anvil for instance, when they land on the slime block, even from a decent height, they still won't ever bounce. The one exception to this is the armor stand, because it's an entity, not a block. But yeah, you can see we place down there, it bounces, but everything else won't bounce, it'll just kind of fall flat, and that's really disappointing. However, if you use a piston attached to a slime block and you get the timing just right, which in this case is like roughly 0.4 seconds or a full repeater, it means that what you can actually do is you can make an anvil cannon or any other gravity affected block cannon. So this is really cool, and I've shown this off before in a couple of videos, so if you've seen it before, apologies, but I have done a full tutorial on how to make this if you want to know. Basically, the anvil cannon can be used for quite a few cool things, as including firing anvils at people, but this actually means that gravel technically has a use now, because it will also fire armor stands, it will also fire gravel, sand, etc. And the cool thing about using gravel this way is it means you can kind of, either one, fire a warning shot, so, gravel has a use now, you can use it to fire warning shots at people, and they'll be like, oh, there's gravel coming this way, better watch out. But 2, you can kind of use it if you have a full auto weapon that's firing fast enough, or if you're just willing to load it yourself fast enough. You can also use it this way so that you can fire a bunch of gravel really fast and keep someone locked inside their house, because getting rid of a big stack of gravel, like this thing over here, is reasonably tricky to do, and yeah, gravel almost has a use now, and therefore we should just make it rare underground to make it fair, right? Yeah, hashtag enough gravel. But yeah, I think honestly, gravel almost has a use if you're willing to set up a cannon. I just think it's cool that an anvil cannon can be repurposed for so many different things, including one thing you might not have known is because arrows from a bow are gravity affected too, you can technically, you have to rearrange it a little bit, you can make them launch on slime blocks. So we fire just over here a flaming arrow onto there, we can actually fire flame at people like this. So it has weird gravity effects like that. You can see it there. Basically, if you're willing to set up the thing in the right way, you can actually launch, arrows at people this way, which I think is so cool that you can use a machine to launch arrows that, if you put them on there yourself. And yeah, that's kind of cool if you ask me. So yeah, flaming arrows, regular arrows, whatever you want to do, you can launch them using the anvil cannon, as well as just pretty much any gravity affected block. So yeah, that's the first fun fact you might not have known. The second one is to do with falling off big buildings. So I mentioned this before in, the secret uses video, and a lot of people were like, oh, there's actually a second way, and I entirely forgot about the second way. So the first way I mentioned to actually, not take damage while falling onto a slime block, or sorry, to, actually avoid people, is you can actually crouch onto the slime block and you won't bounce at all. So if I jumped up here and I crouched onto the slime block, that's how that work entirely there. So if I crouch on there and, let's just quickly show you. So if we crouch, as you can see, we take the falling damage, but we don't bounce at all. And that can be useful if you need to get away from someone and you're willing to sacrifice health, which a lot of the time you're not able to do. I appreciate that's a thing. So what I figured instead we could do here is I could show you that if you bounce just like this and you hold A, then you'll jump on when you get to the bomb instead of bouncing properly. And this means that although, it's a little bit harder to escape necessarily, it means you won't take falling damage, and it means you bounce a lot less. So if you jump even up from 256 blocks, if you as long as you're holding A when you land, it counts as a jump on the thing, like I'm doing this, and that means you can save a lot of blocks. So yeah, that is fun fact number 2. You might not have known, you can actually, use slime blocks to, you can jump onto slime blocks and avoid some of the falling damage there. So yeah, fun fact number 2. Fun fact number 3 is actually to do with blocks that slime blocks can and can't move. So you're probably aware that slime blocks move most things attached to them, whether it's dark oak wood, whether it's stone, emerald, fences. Pretty much every block in the game is moved if it's attached to a slime block attached to something else, which are all of these blocks here. And you can see if I quickly do that, that's what's going to happen. However, there are some exceptions to this, and these are really useful to know if you want to have slime blocks on your pistons, but you don't want it to move the blocks around it, or the redstone, stuff like that. And the most obvious one that everyone knows about is obsidian. So obsidian, if you have, attached to a thing like this, it won't move it. But also, the other 2 ones, a lot of people do know, is a furnace, won't be moved if it's attached, and either will bedrock. So bedrock obviously isn't gettable in survival, but a furnace and obsidian is, and these are 2 most useful examples. However, there are quite a few more of them, and in fact, I think there's something like 19 blocks on the console edition right now, which won't move when attached to an anvil, including the hopper, the chest, and the beacon, just to quickly show you right there, like there. Oh wait, let's quickly do that again. Here you can see, boom, it's up in the air, but it's not moving the blocks with it, which is weird, because the hopper is directly attached to it, but still doesn't care, it doesn't go up in the air, and I'll put the rest of the blocks on screen now, hopefully. If they're not on screen, then be angry at me and remind me in the comments, and you'll read a comment from me saying, oh, here are the blocks. And yeah, basically all of those blocks blocks you can actually, not have moved by an anvil, which is, by a slime block, which is pretty cool. And interestingly, while we're on the subject of things which don't move, some blocks move when attached to a slime block, some blocks don't move, and some blocks are destroyed. So in the case of the any leaf block, if you try and place those in the way of a slime block, so if we place it up there, and then we place this, it just destroys it. It doesn't move it, it doesn't not move it, it destroys it, which is really, really weird if you ask me. So yeah, some blocks are moved, most blocks are moved in fact, some blocks aren't moved, and some blocks are destroyed, which I think is pretty cool. So yeah, that's fun fact number 3, you might not have known about slime blocks. So fact number 4, you might not have known about slime blocks, because it seems intuitive that if it's a slimy block, then only the center is going to be bouncy, right? So if we look over, if you look over here, you look, oh, the fence is covering it, I guess we can't bounce. But, even if it's, only half the block is visible, oh, oops, shouldn't have done that. Even if only half the block is visible, you can still bounce on any part of the block, as long as you're mostly on the block like this. So, yeah, that's kind of cool if you ask me. And you can also do it on the tiniest corner of a block. So if you have a fence like this, you can make it so that, this tiny little bit of you that can be there, like you can see that tiny 2-pixel thing, you can actually bounce on that too, which is pretty cool if you ask me. And the way this can be useful is you can make an extremely skillful way to get, let's say, out of your base. You'll jump down the corner of the fences if you don't want to take full damage, and, it's make it a 24 block full, and then boom, everyone dies, except people who apparently, excluding me, can jump onto the corner of the slime block. It's a cool way to make a bit of skill in your slime block escapes, and yeah, maybe that inspires some creativity. If it doesn't, another way to use slime blocks in a skillful way is using pressure plates and the same thing here. So you've probably seen the thing I showed off, or in general, it's a pretty common design, where basically if you have obsidian next to your slime block, you can make it so as long as you go between the 2 blocks, you bounce the air like that. Pretty cool, right? And yeah, that's the most common way of getting things done, because if you had any other block, obviously that go up in the sky too, and this means you can just bounce and bounce and bounce and bounce, etc. So yeah, this is pretty cool by itself, but one thing you might not have known is we can remove that entirely, which will take a few seconds apparently. Remove that entirely, and now boom, we can't go up the air, right? Except you can. So this is kind of a tricky maneuver to pull off, but it's another one of those skill things, and that's why it's pretty cool, because if you go like this, you can see you bounce up and like that, and that means there's a kind of a skill to making sure you maintain your momentum through the air. So if we go like this, for instance, and then we go bounce onto here and do the same onto, okay, we fell off. You get the point. There's like kind of a skill on like bouncing from one to the other, pressing a pressure plate every single time, and that's why I think it's quite cool. You can make this skill thing, and it means that instead of having to have obsidian in the air like you would up here, you can just bring pressure plates with you and make a cool entrance to your base that involves bouncing up lots of these. And of course, mobs can't do that because they don't have pressure plates, and of course, other players are going to find it tricky too. So yeah, that's something pretty cool you might not have known about slime blocks. You can just have a sticky piston, have a slime block, and then place your own pressure plates, and boom, you're going to have quite a bit of fun, and I think it's pretty cool anyway. So yeah, that is 5 things you might not have known about slime blocks. If you want a fun, bonus fact, slime blocks kind of return pistons to how they used to work, because they used to be able to keep stand in the air, which means if this is a really tricky thing to pull off, but if you have a thing on just the right pulse, so these go off and on every like 1.2 seconds, I think it is. If you can get the exact right distance on this, what you can actually do here, so let's drop this now. Okay, we're gonna have to try this again. Okay. If we just, okay, we can't do this just right, but basically, I'll show you a little bit of video of this. You can actually see that if you do this just right, you can have blocks bounce over and over again in the sky, and you can do some really cool decorations with this. You might have seen someone do this, like, before, that used to work, like, way back in, like, 2010 or something like that, or 2011, I guess it'd be. And, yeah, basically, you can use this to do some pretty cool things in Minecraft, whether it's, just the basics of like, oh, I'm going to make sand bounce in the sky just because it looks cool. Or whether it's like, I'm going to have my anvils bouncing in the sky and use them that way. There's a bunch of cool things you can use by having repeaters going off in the exact same time, because every single time this can be hit by the same bounce. Anyway, yeah, that's that right there. Bonus little fact I thought you might enjoy. Make it 6 fun things you didn't know, or just 5 in a bonus. Yeah, that's 5 things you might not have known about slime blocks. Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments down below. And also, please do like it if you did like it, because it does help out the channel a lot and lets other people find this video. That's what it does. It kind of signals to YouTube that you liked it. And also share if you really liked it, because that's another way for my channel to get out there. And also subscribe if you're new around here, because it, obviously lets you see my videos daily on your homepage, which I think is good for both of us, but maybe that's just me. But yeah, if you don't want to, you can just keep watching them from wherever you're watching them. And besides that, I hope you did all enjoy it, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.